Welcome to my studio. So this is the area I tend to shoot in, and I've got my camera here. We're not going to take a photograph, but I'm going to show you how this beast of a camera actually focuses, because it's probably not what you think it is. So we've got a wallet. No, a knife. I've got a knife. Always good to have a knife. So I've got this is a Leatherman here, and I'm going to place it on this background as if I was going to photograph it. Now, I want to shoot it from this angle here, because if you shoot it side on, you won't see much. You shoot it top down, it's kind of a bit two-dimensional. And this 45-degree angle is a really nice sort of way to add depth to an image. But as I'm sure you know, we have a problem. If we want to get this front tip here in focus, even at f22 or f32, because of the distance we're at, we're only going to get to around here still being sharp, and the rest will fall out of focus. So we need to come up with a way to get the whole thing sharp, ideally without focus stacking. Now, of course, with this particular item, with it being still and not moving and having no parts that might accidentally move, we could focus stack it. That is absolutely a good option. But there's a few problems with that. Firstly, focus stacked images look focus stacked, which is cool. Sometimes that's the look you want to go for, and that's fine. Secondly, focus stacking is computer intensive. If you're on a big shoot and you're shooting many items in a day, you need to focus stack as you go, because you don't want to be waiting until the end of the day to realise that you screwed up and you're missing like from here to here. That's a bad idea. So you want to be doing it as you go. So the Digi who sits behind me on here, they'll be exporting the TIFFs and then stacking the TIFFs either in Helicon Focus or in Photoshop, depending on the workflow you're using that day. And that takes time. That can slow things down. Then you realise you've missed one, you've got to start the whole stack again. It's a bit of an issue. And you also have problems with the lighting. If you don't have expensive, high quality lights, something from a premium brand like Profoto or Broncolor, chances are you're going to have deviations in the actual exposure throughout the focus stack. And likewise, if you don't have a proper lens which has manual aperture, or I'm going to do a video on how to stop flickering in images, the actual aperture, f10, not as precise as you might think it is. When you come down to f10 on an electronic lens, which is what you'd have on your Fuji, Sony, or pretty much anything which doesn't have aperture stops here, the aperture closes and opens. Now, that doesn't sync very well with the shutter firing. And also, when it closes and opens, it's quite blasé about it. So rather than just going, we must go to exactly here and back again, it goes, quick, throw the shutter blades in, and they kind of land where they land. So that's another issue. You'll have differences in exposure, which you have to sort out. And that can be various degrees of bad, depending on a whole load of factors. But you add that to the inconsistency in the lighting, and then the focus stacking is a pain in the arse. So this is how you get around it. Now I'm using what's called a cambo actus. So from here, the bellows to the front here, this isn't part of the Canon system. So I've got my Canon 5DSR back here, which is bang for buck the best camera you can get for still life images in a studio. You can get better cameras, but less bang for buck. So this is like the sweet spot. This bit here is the bellows, which allows for focusing. The metal bit at the bottom, this is where all the movements are. So you focus here, you've got your swing, your shift, your tilt, and all the rest of it, much like a tilt-shift lens. It is a tilt-shift lens on steroids, if you will. Then we've got our lens with a fixed aperture. And then this bit on the front here is a bellows, which you can extend in and out, because as you move the camera, the bellows can come in and out of shots. You can't always get optimum bellow usage. But let's dive into this. Let me show you the method I go through to focus these cameras. So, start by turning it on. I'm going to record this in video mode so you can see what I would see. So we're going to place our item in shot. And already what we can see here, if we just focus at the front edge, there we go. The entirety of the back of the image is out of focus. Let's just close the aperture blades down. I'm going to want some auto ISO here, aren't we? There we go. Let's close those aperture blades down. So we've got a little thing here which will close the aperture blades. And you can see even then we're getting about to the M of Leatherman. So that's not ideal. That's not what we want. So we need to do something here. We need to tilt the lens, which is moving it like this, in order to focus on the rear of it. Now the system here is, we focus on the front, which we've done. We then use the tilt to focus on the furthest bit, at which point this will probably fall out of focus. So then we refocus, using normal focus, to the front, then we retilt to the back, to the front, to the back, to the front, to the back, until it all comes into focus, usually 3 times. Let's give it a go. Now, of course, there are some times when the angle is so extreme that you can't actually focus it. Let's get a decent composition going first. Otherwise we're just playing for the sake of playing. So we focus on the front, that's good. Now I'm going to focus on the very tip of those pliers. So we're doing this, and you can see it's coming in focus. There we go. Just there. And now the front bit's gone out of focus. We're going to come back and refocus that, and now the back end's gone out of focus. So do that again, the front end. There we go, the back end. There we go. Now it's slightly... This is the benefit. I'm using the rear standard shift just to recompose. There we go. And now we've got the entire item in focus. So this now is in focus from here to here, just by moving it. And you can see the actual lens, it's moved a long way. We're actually at the capacity here. We're at 10 degrees tilt. So that is as far as this goes. Bigger cameras will have more tilt, and some of them have rear tilt as well. Tilt shift lenses have much less tilt. So you might still end up focus stacking. But here we have the whole thing in focus. And just to show you, so from this perfectly sharp image, if I just remove that tilt and just focus on that front tip again, you can see the difference. And even at f22, we're not going to get the whole thing in focus. And this is how I get those really sharp images that are in my portfolio. My work is all about sharpness, detail, and like vibrancy, pop, and all of that good stuff. Now, what's the benefit of this in terms of clarity? Because of course, focus stacking will give you all the detail. Now, as we move this here, this is called the Schindler principle. And as we do this, the depth of field, instead of going like this, starts to go like this. So we might be focused here, and then we're just pulling the focus up until it covers all of this, which means we could be at the sweet spot on the lens, which on this lens is actually f18, which is not a great example, but say on your lens it's f10. f10 shooting straight on, you'd have to do about 90 shots to fully focus stack this. But you get at f10, bend the plane of focus, and that would allow you to get that super detailed shot, which we all want. So that's the benefit of this camera. It has other uses as well. There's some perspective controls we can do from the rear by moving the camera up and down. This is especially useful for drinks, but we've got all of this room here to play with the camera, and we can make it so we're looking straight on, but like it looks like it's coming from underneath when you look at the rim of the glass. We've got all of this shift here. We can make monstrous panoramics. There's a whole world of like imaging that we can do just by having this bit of kit here. Now, these cost about probably £2,000, I think. The lenses are around £500 each second hand. They are Mamiya Secor lenses. They are very, very good. Very, very affordable too. There's a bit of a weird workaround I'm having to do. I have to gaff tape the depth of field preview down. I can live with that though. The whole camera's powered from a video battery just down here, which is connected to my big stand, my big studio stand, because I get asked this in every video. It's just a Manfrotto large salon stand. It's nothing fancy. I'll say nothing fancy, they're stupidly expensive for what they are, but they'll last you a lifetime, so pretty good in that sense. But this here, as far as I'm concerned, is the ultimate setup for still life images. The only thing I would upgrade would be to change this here for a Phase 1 IQ3 back, and probably the 100, 150 megapixel one. That's all I would change, but really, I've shot some big worldwide campaigns on this. If you've seen anything on a billboard in London during January and February, it was probably shot on this setup here. It's a great setup. So yeah, there's a great bit of kit, and having these movements is so important. And then the benefit of buying this cambo instead of tilt shift lenses is every lens you put on it is a tilt shift lens. Every lens you put on it has macro capabilities. Now, there's a bit more to go into on macro lenses because there's a slight different element design to them, so it doesn't always do exactly the same thing, but you can focus as close as a macro lens would, and actually considerably closer. Anyway, I hope this answers your questions on this, because I get asked a lot of questions about this camera, and I thought this would help iron out some of those little bits. Anyway, hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. It really helps my channel out, and that helps me to create more content like this. The more people who watch it, the more money the videos make, the more time I can set aside out of my work time to actually make videos like this. See you soon. Bye-bye.